Hey everybody, it's Laura with Jot and Tittle Vintage Typewriters, and I've got a really fun and quirky Smith Corona clipper. It's from 1947, and so we're going to do an instructional video and then also just take a look at it. Now, obviously, if you've got one, it's probably not going to look like this one. I love how this one looks. Some people wouldn't like it at all because they like everything in order, line, in straight lines. I'm not that person. I'm very creative, and so I like quirky stuff. So this one, you'll notice the keys are kind of twisted or turned, you know, the letters are turned. And then even this bottom row, they're all like a little bit uneven. I actually love it. Super fun. I love it on this typewriter. I wouldn't love it like on my Quiet Deluxe typewriters, the Royals, but I love it on this one. Also, this one has a much softer sound. It sounds more like a silent or a super silent more than a silent or super silent sound. I mean, does that make sense? Anyway, it has definitely a very muffled sound to it. I'll do a little bit of typing on here so you can see it. And before I do that, let me show you. I guess I should have showed you after, but this is the typing sheet I just did, so you can see what the font looks like. It is a little uneven. You can see some overbleed in certain places, but again, adds to the whole quirkiness. So, I don't know. For me, this would be like the fun and very creative typewriter to write on versus if I'm doing something that's very more stoic, or what is the word I'm looking for? I would probably pick something with nice, crisp, clear, very even letters and lines and keys. But if I'm wanting to do something fun and creative and out of the box, I think this is the typewriter I would choose. And I love that the font is just as quirky as the keys are. Okay, so here, I'm going to type a little a line so you can kind of hear the muffled sound of it. Okay, I actually ended up getting a fresh piece of paper and some fresh ribbon, so let me try this again. So that is I don't know if you can tell online or on the video by listening to it, but it's definitely a lot more muffled, and I really like it. So this would be something that like I would take to a public place with me because it's a little bit quieter. Okay, so let's see. When I stopped the video, so now I'm like trying to regroup here. That's part of having typewriters. Sometimes you run into issues as you're testing them, which is why we test all of our typewriters. So it's quite common for issues to come up in the middle of testing, and then they go back into the shop, and then they come back out, and we just go back and forth that way. Okay. So I don't remember where we left off, but let's go back. I don't think I had even started going through the typewriter yet. So let's do kind of an exploration of this typewriter. So if you have one, get it out and follow along with me if you want. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take out this paper. So I'm going to pull that paper release forward and take it out. Okay, so this is the clipper. There's the logo right there. This one's in 1947. I already showed you the keys. This flips forward. Here's your margin setting, so you can press and drag. I've got some dust here, looks like. Mint. My goodness. There we go. Got a piece of lint there. So that's where you set your margins. Now this one does not have a tab setting on it. Over here is your line selector. You just have two options. Now to release your carriage, which this is your carriage, there's a lever here and there's one over here, and you just press that forward. The bell on this one is really faint, but you should be able to hear your bell. you've got your return handle. And this is your paper release, which you saw me do that just a minute ago. All right, so down, and that's your carriage. And to load your paper, you just set the paper right here. No need to press it down in there. And then turn the handle and bring it around, okay? So that's how you load your paper. I'm gonna move my carriage over to the left, away from the cover. A lot of the typewriters, they're in, this one in particular of mine, doesn't necessarily mean for this model, but for this one that I have, the handle is so close that it still kind of rubs on here. And you may want to gently lift up on your handle just a little bit, not too hard because you don't want to bend your carriage, just gently to kind of keep it from rubbing your cover. But anyway, so move your carriage to the left before opening. You just grab it right here and pop that open. And inside, and I'll lift that up so you can kind of take a look. And I have an up-close image of this on the product listing. You'll find that link to that in the description below. Just go on there and feel free to save that image for your reference. So if you have one of these and you need help threading that ribbon through, it's really hard to show. My husband's better at that than I am. So I just take the up-close images, and that way you can kind of help navigate those waters. But this takes a universal ribbon, which you can find just about anywhere, and we have them on our website. And they just pop in and out like that. You want to make sure it's threaded. There's always a guide wire right here. It's always right next to the spools. And the ribbon is going to come over the top and then around the back and underneath. Same with this side, around the top, back, underneath. The black is on the top, the red is on the bottom, and you can get different colors if you want. Etsy's a great place to find different colors. We only carry the black, red, comma, which is standard for that. Okay, over here you have your touch selector. That just determines how hard these type bars are going to strike your paper. And so you just, to whatever preference you want. Like my husband has a heavier hand, so he would probably prefer a different setting than I would, which I have a really light hand, light touch. Okay, so when you close your cover, don't just set it there. Make sure you snap it all the way, and that really will help keep the handle from rubbing the top. So I don't know if you can tell, but the clearance between the handle and my cover is not even 1/8 of an inch. It is, we're talking nail thin, you know, it's really narrow there. So that's why it's really important to make sure those things are snapped shut. Okay, so down here you've got your round keys. Notice this doesn't have a number 1, so you can use your lowercase l or your uppercase I, whichever you prefer. I've seen both used. Over here is your color selector. Black is on top, red is on the bottom. The white in the middle is a stencil setting. You will never use it, and so if you're setting, if your lever is on the white, it's not going to type properly. So if you're having trouble typing, there's 2 things you want to check before you panic. One, make sure your color selector is either on black or red. And the other one is reverse the direction of your ribbon, because when you get through your spool, it's not the end of the ink. You want to reverse the direction of that spool, and you'll go back and forth many times before you need to change your ribbon, because that ink's going to last you a long time. Your ribbon reversal is right here, and you just go up. Actually, on this one, you just, you'll hear it click, so you just press it down and it'll click. And what it's doing is it's switching directions, going this way, click it, now it'll go this way. So that's how this one works. On some typewriters, you just flip up or down. This one, it's just a down motion and it clicks when it's switching. Okay. Oh, and so the other thing is, if it's not typing right, you might be at the end of your ribbon and it's going to get really tight, or your font's going to get faint, or it's going to feel different, and stop when that happens. And always reverse the direction of your ribbon to see if that resolves any issues you're having with the typewriter. I would say that is always the number 1 thing you should do. And if that doesn't resolve anything, check your color selector and kind of work your way that way. Okay, so this has a backspace, doesn't have a tab, but it has a backspace. Remember, backspace does not erase. And yes, you will make mistakes when typing, and just embrace them. We're used to computers with autocorrect or being able to delete and correct right away. That's just not the case with typewriters. You can type over it, you can slash through it, you can just embrace your mistake. If you want to keep starting over, you'll start over a lot. So just understand that's part of typing. They do have whiteout, stuff like that. If you are correcting ribbon, I think you can still find those. I'm not sure where, but I think they're out there somewhere. Okay, so we have your shift and your shift lock, and you'll notice this says floating shift, and you might be like, what in the world is a floating shift? Well, when shift first started, when you would shift, it would raise the whole carriage. And even though it was a lever system, it's a lot of weight on your pinky. And those of you who do a lot of typing know that the pinky starts to hurt after a while if you're doing when you're doing a lot of shifting, and especially on the older typewriters where the shift lifted the carriage, and that can get really heavy. So Smith Corona came out with what's called the floating shift, where the escapement area, this whole area where the type bar basket is, would go up and down. And it was much lighter, much easier. It didn't go like ka-chunk, ka-chunk, because when you're lifting your carriage, it's like chunk, chunk, is what it would do. So that is what a floating shift is. It's one of their marketing things, like, hey, your shift is a whole lot easier. You're going to save your pinky. Save the pinkies. Okay, that probably would have been a really good marketing campaign back then. All right, squirrel. That's what a floating shift is. Margin release. Testing the margin. There's my bell telling me that I should hit the return handle. But sometimes you're in the middle of the word. I don't remember if I did this already, but we're going to do it again. Okay, so it stopped on me. So now I hit margin release. And I can keep going. Excuse me. So on some typewriters, what it should do is both the carriage and the keyboards, the type bar should lock up. Sometimes it does one or the other. I've had typewriters do both. So on this particular one that I have, the carriage stops, but my type bars don't lock up. So I just have to, when that bell goes off, I just have to be very aware of when it's going to stop and then hit my margin release. Okay, so that is how you use a Smith Corona clipper. I hope you found this tutorial helpful and enjoyed taking a look at the clipper. I'm going to hold this up so you can see that logo again. That is the Smith Corona clipper logo, at least from 1947. Let me know if you've got one and what you like about yours. What I like about this one is I like that it's portable. It has one of my favorite body styles. I like that it's quiet. It's a quiet one, and for me, it's very easy. I like how the keys are really close together on this. So for those of us with petite hands, this is a really great typewriter. And actually, if you have bigger fingers, you're probably going to be really frustrated with this typewriter because you're going to be hitting two keys at once a lot. So that's because the keys are just so much closer together. So this really was designed for, I think, more petite fingers. All right, thanks for watching. Y'all have a great day.